Hey guys, and welcome to the Know-How channel. Today we're going to show you how to set up the basic ESS settings on your Servo GX controller. We always recommend using a screen. It does make your life easier. There is other ways as well. On our other videos you will see other ways to log into it and change settings, but today we're going to do it the easy way on the screen. So first you go to your menu, Settings, scroll down to the ESS tab. Please note that if you do not program your inverter with ESS, this tab will be empty and it will say there is no ESS loaded on your system. So we have loaded it on, so now you will see on the screen here, we actually have settings for the ESS. So the first setting we see is the mode. So if you click on mode, it will give you 4 different modes. So with battery life is the easiest way to explain it would be is it will focus on charging your battery first. Your solar will always focus on whatever there is will charge the battery, and it will listen to your BMS. Your BMS will mostly control to where the solar would go. If the battery needs to charge, it will charge the battery first before it will go to your loads. Without battery life, most people opt to use without battery life because they want to save more on electricity pulling from the grid. So this will use your solar to your loads first. Whatever is excess of your solar will charge your battery. So the main focus would be to keep your ESCOM bill as low as possible. So most people opt for it, but it isn't necessarily the best for the battery life. That's why it's called without battery life. Other one would be keep battery charged. Keep batteries charged is literally just, it won't care about your where you save electricity or anything. It will just push your solar to your battery. As soon as your battery is full, all excess will go to your loads. External control we'll put on for another day, because that's when you use other devices on your Servo GX to control your ESS system. So let's for now go to without battery life and we go further on it. If you do use an external meter, energy meter, like a Carlo Cavazzi meter as we showed in our previous videos, there's our energy meter for our grid. If you use any of them, please make sure you click on external meter and not inverter charger. If you click on inverter charger, it will ignore your energy meter and it won't help you to save any electricity at all. So make sure you have it on external energy meter. If you do use your energy meters on, your inverter AC output in use, it will always, most cases, be on. It's not, if you switch that off, it will not, your solar will not feed to your AC output of your inverter, so it will block that load. So make sure that system is on. Your self-consumption from battery, this is an extra setting that will help. If you do not want your solar to feed your non-essential loads through the energy meter, and you only want to use your energy meter to measure your non-essential loads, you can say that you only want to do self-consumption on critical loads only. So your battery will not discharge to non-essential loads and your solar will not feed to non-essential loads. It will only go to your critical loads. If you want to save more electricity and feed that power to your non-essential loads, you can say all system loads. So your ESS is your main control of where your solar and your battery feeds to. And this is all mostly, in most cases, if they use batteries with BMS control, the BMS will control to what the battery can feed and what it can charge and discharge at that times. Your multi-phase regulation. So this setting, if you have a 3-phase site that you want to set up on ESS control, please, in South Africa, with our regulations, we are not allowed to feed back on one phase and pull on another phase. So we've discussed that as well with our phase rotations on our energy meters. We are not allowed to do that within South Africa. So we always say use individual phase. So what this means is it will reference your lowest phase and it will feed or keep it onto the lowest phase when pulling power from ESCOM. So if you have phase 1 is pulling 50 watts, phase 2 is pulling 100 watts and phase 3 is pulling 200 watts, it will reference it to feed the loads in the house, but not to feed back that it feeds back on the phase 1 to keep all your loads at 0. If you use total of all phases, it will use the total of those 3 phases and make sure that stays at 0. So if you're pulling 3,000 watts on phase 1, but only 50 watts on phase 2, it's going to start pulling off of phase 2 and pushing back on phase 3 to keep the total value of all three phases as close as possible to 0. And you cannot do that within South Africa. So that setting is for other parts of the countries or other parts of the world. In South Africa, we always recommend to use individual phase. If you click on that, they will also give you a brief description of what it does. This one is quite self-explanatory. Your minimum SOC unless grid fails. SOC stands for state of charge. So if you use the ESS system, you want your battery to drain when there's not enough sun. So in overcast weather or during the night, if you want to save this, ESS is mostly to save from Eskom. So if you want to not use your Eskom or your grid side to feed your loads during the night, you want to save on that, you can set up the ESS and drop it down to a lower percentage, so then it will use 30%. If I would put it on minimum SOC on 70%, it will allow your system to use about 30% of your battery to feed those loads when there's not enough or sufficient sun or during the night hours to use that. And then the next morning, it will only charge again. If you have it without battery life, it will only charge from the solar again to get your battery up if there's enough solar. If it's with battery life, it will, in most cases, so if you change it to with battery life, your BMS and your system will work together to work out an active SOC limit. So what that means is that it will notice that your battery is not getting to 100% when charging throughout the day, so it will boost your SOC limit up to 80%. So if you look on the screen, I can go all the way down and say I want it at 40%. It will tell me no, it will only keep it at 80%. So it will only discharge 20% of the battery. Why? Because at this stage it's overcast, it's winter, there's not enough sun to charge the battery full. So this will always, with battery life, will always be safer for your battery, but not necessarily save you the most cost on Eskom bill, because it will use the grid then to supply the loads to keep your battery above 80%. The rest of the ESS settings will be, you can limit your inverter power. This does not limit the amount of power being pulled from Eskom. This only, or what your inverter can be pulled. It does not limit the physical capacity of the inverter. It only limits to what can be discharged from your battery. So if I have a 5 kilowatt inverter and I limit it to 1,000 watts, it will only allow the battery to discharge 1,000 watts. The rest it will pull from Eskom and pass through the inverter. Your grid set point, we've discussed this when we did the energy meter videos. This is basically just where you want your grid reference to be. So it will try and keep running the ESS, it will try and keep your grid's load at close to 0 as possible. Please note it will never be on 0 and won't stay on 0. Power does not sit still and wait for better days. Power will always keep on moving, so you'll see it will go to 5 watts, 15 watts, 20 watts, then it drops down to 0, sometimes a -5 for a few seconds, and then it jumps around. So it will happen, that is normal, that is how it's supposed to be. Power cannot sit still, and the energy meter tries to measure that as quickly as possible. So the set point is just a reference of keep it close to 0 as possible. Most cases we actually when we do our setups, we'll keep it at 50 or 100 depending on the prepaid meter. Some of the older prepaid meters does not like when there's even a drop of feedback on it. So we'll set our grid set point up higher, between 50 or 100, so that when there's a heavy load, the load falls away, that it does not, that it stays far away from 0 or into the minus figures. So